Yay!
Hey.
Woohoo! And we're welcoming our friend who's returning, Heidi von Marbod. She's from the Cheney School District out in Washington, if you need to know. And she works with some of our really extra special students that we always love to see in the building. And that's a special ed program. But more importantly, Heidi, you're a lead in really helping students into their transition into the community, maybe into a vocation once they leave our building for like it. So welcome. I can't wait to talk to you.
Hey,
Welcome back.
thanks for having me. It's good to be back.
So Heidi, what have you been up to? How are you?
I am great. It has been an amazing school year. I love my job. Life is good. Always planning vacations, but always appreciating my job and what I do. So it's going good. It's going really good.
I'm so glad to hear that. And last time I think we had you on, you had a little friend. We had a little mascot for the episode. Right. How's little Buddy, your dog?
Bogey's good. He had to go and stay in the car this time so that he could be quiet because he likes to snore and bark.
But don't we all?
He says hello.
Good. Please send our best regards. So, okay. So right away, I want to know or remind everyone what you actually do. I kind of gave like a little bit of an intro to it, but tell us a little bit more of what it looks like in your classroom right now and your student body that you work with.
Sure thing. I know that we're all educators here. Most of us are. If you're not, welcome. Thanks for coming. But students are allowed to go to school if they are in special education, they have an IEP. They can go to school through their 21st birthday if their IEP team deems it beneficial. And so nobody wants to go to school at the high school for 7 years. So when they are 18, they're invited to walk ceremoniously along with their class, and then they can move over to a transition program. That can look like a lot of different things. But with the Cheney School District, we are greatly supported in that is it a standalone program. I am a portable classroom on a different campus than the high school campus because they have graduated. And we are at the Cheney Middle School campus. So we have all the resources of the administration and a nurse and whatnot. Yet we're a standalone program on a city bus line. And we focus on vocational skills and life after high school. What does it look like when that yellow bus stops coming? So the whole program is practicing community inclusion, community access, vocational opportunities, and what does that look like? So school districts can make life through their 21st year look like a lot of different things, but this model is really what's best practices. You and I know that having a job is so much more than a paycheck. It's being included in your community, developing your self-esteem and your social skills. And so that's what I do every day. I'm really lucky. We start out in the classroom. We have a full kitchen and a washer and dryer, and we're set up like in an apartment. And students cook their own lunch. We go to the grocery store. They buy their own groceries to cook lunch. And then we ride the city bus off to our jobs. And my students are supported by job coaches that are my paraeducators. We partner with businesses in Cheney to volunteer and develop all those soft skills. And it's a lot of fun. And then I connect them with state agencies, such as the Division of Vocational Rehab. And they can secure paid employment by the time they leave. If they don't have SSI or DDA or need help getting into an adult family home, I walk those parents through all those processes that are afforded to their families to make sure they're all set up for when that bus stops coming.
Wow. How long, I'm curious, does the average student stay with you in that program?
Mm-hmm. Typically they stay 3 years. The IEP team can meet and be like, well, guess what? I secured employment early. I'm good to go. So it's really ebb and flow. And even my program is a 4-day-a-week program, but when it comes to what works best for those students, some of my students start going to Pace College at our Spokane Community College, people accessing careers in education. So they go to college maybe 2 days a week, and they come to me 3 days a week or 2 days a week. The schedule can look what's best meets that student for what their life looks like after high school. So, and sometimes they come a lot at the first year, and then the second and third years, they fade a little bit. Everybody likes to come on Fridays because those are the days we go and do community inclusion, practice making a cash transaction with a waitress, or riding the city bus to go see a movie, or go checking out a state agency to make sure we know where it is and all about it and can access it. So
That's
yeah.
really cool. Like, so anybody that's chiming in right now, you were with us. I believe it's season 6, episode 89. And one of the things, it was a really fun conversation, and it was really, for me, something that I really don't get a lot of insight into. So it was, it was informative and helpful. And the one thing that I was thinking about just now, as you were saying that, Heidi, was the partnerships you would make with local businesses and how you were able to transition them. And that was my big takeaway, I think, even as we were reflecting on that talk that night. And would you talk a little bit about that again, just to remind everybody that's, in business or in a community, how they can kind of work with organizations like yours to bring people in and help them transition?
Exactly. Yeah. So I find like local businesses are businesses that are usually the easiest to get into because there's a lot less red tape. But when we talk about the benefits of employing somebody with disabilities, a lot of times their attendance is so much better than just your gen ed employee. And those businesses, oftentimes the employees benefit so much from that relationship with that individual. And they become lifelong partnerships. And hello, puppers. And so
Sorry about that.
no worries. And I find that if I go to like a Kiwanis Club meeting and talk about my program, where you go where the business leaders are, you go where those minds are, and talk to them about, this is something that's great for society. This is something that's great for company morale. This is something that's just do the right thing and make sure people with disabilities are seen. They're seen. And they are part of our community. They deserve to be included in the community. And some business owners don't even realize it. Like, they have federal compliance that they need to meet. Once a business is a certain size, they have to make sure they employ a certain amount of people with disabilities, but they don't have to make sure that they're including people with intellectual disabilities. We see people and not see people all the time that might have a disability. But when you employ somebody with an intellectual disability, it's just such an amazing gift and an opportunity to welcome them into your business. And I cannot tell you the amazing gifts that I've been given to the Cheney community by welcoming my students into their businesses. It just makes my heart like so happy. This is a life's work that I just so believe in.
When that happens, so from a business owner standpoint, do they just reach out to you with a phone call, or is there a more formal way they have to kind of begin that conversation?
I have to recruit. I have my paraeducators. One of their roles is to go out with our flyer and actually go into businesses and convince them the benefits of letting us come in and volunteer. When we think about employment, that's a different step in my program for paid employment. But my job is getting them in to volunteer with that business. And a lot of times I tell businesses, we're not here to pressure you into hiring them. And sometimes it happens naturally because they're like, oh my gosh, this student is such a great employee. We need them. But it's hard when you talk about connecting with businesses. There are some national resources for businesses that are interested in like connecting with individuals with disabilities, because I know you guys have a huge audience from all over. But there are some really great resources that talk about like the Employer Assistance and Resource Network and Disability on Inclusion. It's called EARN, EARN. Like, business owners can go there. There's all kinds of support for businesses, but when it comes to like how I get into my Cheney community, it's boots on the ground, and it's having one-on-one conversations with business owners about what an opportunity this is for them.
That's so important.
Yeah. What are some of the skills or things, even right now, that you are working on when it comes to these partnerships? What do you see? What would we see your students doing?
Okay. So first off, when we look at the goals of my program are to develop their soft skills. And when we look at like the niches that they might want to go into, we do a lot of interest inventories and what's called the discovery process. So I have some key work sites that students will go into, like such as a preschool. And they're like, I never thought about working with kids. I'm like, well, let's try it. You don't know till you try. And so then I have like a pizza place. We go in full pizza boxes and do some kitchen tasks there. when the skills that they are developing, sometimes families are like, what do you, my kid's not going to work. And I'm like, that you can't know until you try. So the job readiness starts from the time they finish eating lunch on a typical day and they remember to go get their uniform on. And even before that, was it your day to do laundry and wash everybody's uniforms? Okay, next up, did you remember to grab your bus pass? Can you look at the clock and make sure you're on time? Most of the students in my class are DDA eligible. So that means their IQ is 69 or below. That's the regulations for Washington State. DDA stands for Developmental Disabilities Administration, and they are afforded certain supports for the rest of their life once they turn 21. So when you look at like what their goals are versus like your typical gen ed student that may be a resource room student that might have a disability and would need support with employment, that's like a different process. But when you look at my students, we start out at the very beginning. Can you catch the bus? A lot of time they don't ride the bus alone, but we have something called paratransit that gets them directly door to door. In my class, we ride a bus as a group to get to all the places in Cheney. Can they greet their employee? Can they greet their boss? Can they come in and make eye contact and have some social skills and make small talk with the other employees? And then when it comes to like hard skills, I have a student that's in a library. So she's learning the Dewey Decimal System and alphabetizing, those kind of things with the support of their job coach. And it's just so individualized for each student. And we try to take into account their preferences and likes, but really we are a rotation within 3 years where they get exposed to a lot of different businesses. And we really just tell them, hey, we're just going to try it. And the discovery process is a great thing. So by the time they leave me, they will have been exposed to a lot of different businesses and a lot of different trades. And they participate in 2 different programs with the county. One's called Job Foundations, one's called School to Work. By the time they leave, hopefully they have secured part-time employment.
Yeah, that sounds amazing. And I'm actually sitting here thinking about that's good for anyone and everyone, right? We don't really know what we would like or be interested in unless we try things.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a huge lesson, I think, in general, just for anyone. You don't know until you try it.
Yeah. The next step is divisional vocational rehab, is what it's called in Washington State. In every single state in the United States has a voc rehab. So if you're interested in this, you just Google your state and the word voc rehab and your exact agency will come up. So they do an intake with voc rehab in their last year. And they, once they establish eligibility, they get to hire an employment agencies. There's 13 of them in the Spokane-Cheney area that specialize in employing people with disabilities. And then they determine whether they need long-term supported employment or short-term supported employment, and they secure paid employment. And this is where we get into what are your hopes and dreams? We're not going to pigeonhole you into fast food. We're not going to pigeonhole you into housekeeping. We've done the discovery process. You know what you like and what you don't like and what you want to do. You have own agency. You have voice. You get to decide what do you want your career to be. And what does that look like for you? Do you want to work mornings? Do you want to work nights? Do you mind working weekends? Do you want to work inside? Do you want to work outside? That is all part of that transition piece of the IEP. You start setting these goals at 16. And sometimes high school teachers don't realize what that transition piece is. And I just encourage them to seek some professional development in that area, because transition doesn't just start at 18. It starts early with those pre-employment transition skill classes. Oftentimes voc rehab can come into the high school and teach those classes too. There's just so many opportunities out there that people don't know about. And it's my job to guide families and make sure that they are aware of all these different opportunities and resources.
Absolutely. Yeah. And you kind of make it seem easy, like, oh, it's just we do 1, 2, 3. But I can hear all the things, all the moving parts that are happening, just the knowledge base that you have. It's unbelievable. But the importance, the stressing of the importance of it's all about support and taking the time step by step for everyone to kind of figure out areas of growth, areas of interest. Like that seems like that does take a little while. So what are some activities that you do to kind of help support someone who, let's say, is having a difficult time keeping up with what the time is and that they need to be at work at a certain time? Like, what do you do with your students?
Yeah, those are called natural supports. And so you want to build in with them what do we use? So most of my students, no matter if their IQ, they have a cell phone now. We set alarms for that. There's some great technology around supporting individuals with disabilities with like checklists, and there's different supports. Like even when you maybe you open your pillbox and it sends a text message to your family that you opened your pillbox. Like there's amazing technology.
Oh, wow.
And so when you apply all those great resources to the work environment, gosh, the sky is the limit. And yeah, it's just incredible. And I know I'm talking a lot about vocational, but when we in our classroom, we focus on independent living. What does that look like for each individual? I just had a student move into an adult family home last week. Super exciting. So I help them tour adult family homes. I help them do the paperwork, make sure that they had the right funding for that. So we focus on vocational, independent living, and then also functional academic skills. Not only, can you do math, but okay, now can you handle cash? Can you handle your debit card? Can you do elapsed time and figure out how long you were at work? And can you read the clock? Can you make sure that you're at the bus on time? How many minutes is it going to take you to get there? So really diving into the function of those academics and how do you apply them into the real world. I'm really lucky in that my class is no longer, here's a homework assignment, bring it back, let's grade it. It's not that at all. We are moving beyond that into life after high school. What does that look like for you to function the very best way you can in society? Are you going to, what are you going to do on your days off? What does a full, rich life look like for you? So you gather everybody at the IEP. You don't just grab the families anymore. You gather your favorite aunt and uncle. You gather your favorite cousin, and you talk about what does the rest of your life look like? Who's going to make sure that I want to go to church every Sunday? Who wants to go to church with them on Sunday? Okay, we'll make sure that happens. And the IEP really goes through all those different areas to make sure we're not just talking about now, we're talking about the next 20 years. Where are you going to live? What are you going to do? How are you going to save for your vacation? What does that look like? What are the compliance issues around saving money when you have a disability in your SSI check? Do we need to talk about benefits planning? Families do know what they don't know. And so it's my job for those 3 years to make sure they're all set up.
Wow. That is a lot.
Heidi, the last time we talked and then tonight, I just wanted to jump through the screen and give you a big hug and be like, you are such a superb human being. I mean, your community is so lucky to have you in the driver's seat on this. It sounds like a really great working program, a well working machine, but I'm sure there's some challenges. I'm sure there's some things, if your community knows, like, we could use some help with this. We could use this to work better. We could use some assistance with this. Anything that you guys need. It sounds like things are working great, but you're like, wow, gosh, I wish we could get more help with something. Anything like that now?
Yes, this is it. Okay, so a lot of times once you secure SSI funding, families are like, oh no, you can't work. We don't want to lose that funding. That's going to make you, help keep you safe for the rest of your life and make sure that you have a roof over your head and all the things. I need y'all to spread the word about benefits planning. It is possible to have SSI funding and still have a job. It's sometimes when you come into like maybe some generational poverty, making sure that families know it's okay that your child succeed beyond you. It's okay. It's okay. I'm going to make sure that your child does not lose their SSI funding and try to convince you the benefits of a job and working and being included in your community. That's what I need people to spread the word on. It's fear. We know what drives fear is lack of education. So if you circle back and educate families, we got to get more people employed and understanding the benefits of employment.
Absolutely. And it also sounds like, and really celebrating the partnerships in the community that are already doing that and helping support your students. It seems like if we could get that, and I know this is I'm tapping into your passion. If you could get organizations and companies to see continue to see the value of having inclusive workers out on the field, then the better that we all would be. And then I think it would just kind of spread, right?
Yeah. And support the businesses that support individuals with disabilities.
That's huge. That's
Walgreens, huge. The owner, the big CEO of Walgreens, he had a son with autism, and he revamped his whole warehouse so that you didn't have to read to be able to work in it. And he coded everything and symboled everything. And now those distribution centers, the warehouses for Walgreens, are set up to totally be geared towards employing people with disabilities.
Really?
Even
Wow.
Amazon has a faction of their division, especially in my area, that's just for individuals with disabilities to make sure that they're safe, yet they're employed, and we understand their challenges. The Google campus, the Microsoft campus, they're tapping into the amazing gifts that individuals with autism have and their gifts of focus and their minds. And they actively recruit individuals with disabilities. It's amazing.
That's awesome.
That's a really big issue that I face with my students in terms of internships. You know, students that aren't technically, you know, we don't have IEPs. We have accommodations at the collegiate level, but you know, we do have those students who have those, you know, those I don't want to call it a disability, but they are in that category of a learning disability, I suppose.
Like maybe a
And
504.
they're autistic, and you know, like it's a challenge, you know, like there's not a lot of hand holding, and they're out there trying to figure a lot of it out. And it's unfortunate we don't have more employers that are better situated to bring them in, because sometimes I think they look at them as, I hate to say this, but almost like a challenge that they can't take on right now. It's, you know, more effort than it's possibly even worth. And that's really not what it is. It's not even what it should be about.
Yeah, but even at the collegiate level, your students with disabilities may not realize that Voc Rehab can help them secure paid employment, and they are a liaison with those employers. Their job coach that is hired by the Voc Rehab will link up with those employees or yours and those bosses and be like, this is what we need to make this individual successful. Like VR Voc Rehab is for the rest of their life, no matter what age they are, and they can circle back and get help. When we talk about the two different categories of people, we have people with their IQ is 69 and below, their Voc Rehab, and then DDA. And then we have people that their IQ is 70 and above, and their Voc Rehab for the rest of their lives.
So let's say a new business opens up, and a representative from your program walks in, and you know, you want to present to them this opportunity. How would that go? How would that conversation go?
So for the internships that I have that are not paid, first you take the pressure off. Businesses are like, oh, I don't know about hiring somebody, you know, that kind of affects the bottom line. And I walk into them. I usually have a flyer that talks about my program, and I say I'm with the Cheney School District, and I want to talk to you about the gift of having an individual in your business with a disability. I want to talk to you about how life-changing that can be, not only for you, but for your employees. And then I let them know that my student will always come with a job coach. I will not be a burden on this business, that you will train me and my student at the same time in whatever job it is, and we will support them for the rest of the time that they're there. When it comes to the long term, there's Voc Rehab folks that get short-term supported employment, and they have a job coach for a couple months. And then long-term DDA students, they have that job coach for longer, as long as they need it.
Wow.
Beautiful.
So how does, just so I don't know, because I'm not actually in it, when they leave your presence, and you do such a great job of preparing them for that next step, like, is it the family that really is the advocate for that next stage and do they get, when I think of the next step, is that tying them into like an organization like ARC, or what happens right after they do leave you?
Okay. So I try to make that overlap. So the ARC is really great with their community centers. Those are day programs. So when we talk about my students, they're going to work part-time, but what are you going to do with the rest of your day? Well, you might want to access a community center. And the ARC is also, they also job coach. They also are payees. They're an amazing guardianship options to walk families through that. So typically on Fridays in my class, we go visit places like the ARC, and they give us a presentation. I invite families to join us on Fridays to hear about what the ARC offers. And then some of my students are like, I want to go to the ARC. So my school district is so awesome. Okay, you want to go to the ARC? This Susie Q, you can go to the ARC every Thursday. You won't come to Miss V's class. It's your last year in Miss V's class. But on Thursday, you're going to go to the ARC, and you're going to practice riding the bus to get there. And my school district, they're great in supporting students in that next step.
That's That's awesome.
That's important.
That is
Mhm.
important.
It's
So-
it's so cool.
Heidi, I'm going to bring up, and I can't remember the name of the award, but you had emailed me, I think it was last semester, and you were recognized for your work, rightfully so. We want to celebrate and share that. So can you tell us a little
Nice.
bit about that?
Thank you. I was given the award called the Catalyst Award, and it is for supporting individuals with disabilities in the community. And you think about the word of catalyst, you're launching and you are instilling change. And that was given to me by the Arc of Spokane.
Wow,
And-
congratulations. That's fantastic.
Yes.
I got to tie this back to, yes, I'm the lead teacher of this program, but the Cheney School District is the one that allows me to do what I do. You guys know special education is not fully funded by the federal government. And so the Cheney School District makes sure that my students come and get their needs met and that my program is fully funded. So I also could not earn that award without my amazing paraeducators that also are paraeducators, but also job coaches. They get extra training for their jobs beyond the paraeducators that might be just in like a special education regular classroom. It was, I like to think of that award for all the parts and pieces of people that make my program so successful.
That's awesome.
I wish we could just take that model and like
Right.
go to every single
Right.
school district, right, in the country and be
And
like,
how,
"Do that."
how refreshing it is to hear somebody say positive things about my team, my staff, my school district. Like it's so refreshing to hear.
Yeah.
And so here's what's crazy is, so Heidi and I have done some work together. She actually came to my conference last summer down in Orlando, and she's coming again in June. I cannot wait to Main Street PD. And when you were there, so we did a session, I like to call it feed forward, and it's not my term, but this idea of, instead of feedback, of like, well, let's sit down and talk about what happened in the past that you can't do anything about. Let's think more about what we can collaboratively talk about that you notice that maybe you would like to continue doing as we go forward, or like to kind of fix or polish or whatever it is, or retry or revise. And most people will say, when it comes to feedback, especially in education, I can't stand it, or it's not very good feedback that I get that's helpful, or it happens too much. But Heidi was this variable out on the outside, and I think you were kind of like, I want feedback and I'm not really getting it, or I'm not getting it as much as I want. So I thought this would be nice, since you're here, to talk about that a little bit, because I think sometimes feedback has such a bad taste in people's mouth when it comes to education, because it can be a lot, but in your case it's not. So tell us a little bit more about that, and then how's it going this year? Have you gotten more feedback that you wanted, or no?
So at year 24 in my career, my administrator, he just thinks the world of me and is like, "You're great." And I'm like, "Do you want to come see me teach a lesson about HR, and all the policies that my students need to make sure they're aware of?" And he's like, "You're good." So what I was really lucky with Aaron is, you guys are gonna laugh, but I have my feedback forms here. This is what I needed from Aaron last summer. And I am developing an idea. Like, I thought I was developing this idea, and I presented it to Main Street PD last summer. And those folks, they said the things that I needed to hear. Because, who gives great feedback than your peers, other teachers? And we had built a bond that week that built trust. And I got to know these folks really, really well. And I got to respect them. And in turn, it gave me confidence to bare my soul a little bit and be like, I don't hold back, people. This is what I need. And so I presented this really, really big idea. And in the end of it, Aaron's like, "Well, that's a strategic plan." And I'm like, "I didn't know that was a strategic plan." She's like,
Aaron's good for that.
She
"Yeah,
can make any of it.
okay."
She's the strategic plan queen.
And I had this little idea, and then Aaron was like, "Nope, you need to expand it here and go here." And I was like, "Well, I don't know if I can do that. That's kind of scary." And she's like, "Nope, you can do it." And so I've been working on that this year. I want to improve employment outcomes in individuals with disabilities on a national, bigger corporation level. And how do I bring to businesses the benefits? So move it beyond Cheney and move it onto the national level. So I got to attend some great conferences here, some employment rallies, to broaden my knowledge base on how to convince people and go through the history of the disability movement and remind businesses of why we should do this, what's good for society. That conference is so great. I'm so excited to go back and present my homework.
Yes, exactly.
And I know that you're a huge Disney fan, and don't they have one of the best hiring practices for disability?
Maybe not the best. So here's the ultimate dream. What is it,
There it
Heidi?
is.
Okay.
The icing on the cake as you get there, steps by step. What's the icing on the cake?
Okay. I want to present at the Disney Institute best practices in hiring individuals with disabilities. I would like to see the Disney company walk the walk and talk the talk.
Yep.
I don't have their facts and figures of how many people they hire with disabilities. When you walk through those parks, yeah, you're going to see that individual that has a walker and is a photographer and getting their accommodation, their 504 accommodation to be able to have a seat. But sometimes when you walk through the parks, how many sweet people with Down syndrome do you see? How many people with an intellectual disability do you see working at Disney?
Right.
I can't tell you whether they do a good job or a bad job.
Right.
I can only share in my experience as an annual pass holder who has spent, 45 days at Disney this year. 2023. My experience.
Holy cow, we're only in February.
He's one of us, that's for sure. That's for sure.
But hey,
Yeah,
we do have people that are employed by Disney that do connect to all of us. So maybe if they're hearing this, they can be an open door for you somehow, or they can open a door for you somehow.
Yep.
Yeah, and Disney does some great called cast chronicles where they will highlight somebody that maybe communicates using sign language, and they'll highlight them. There was a chef that they did, last year. So they do spotlight individuals that have disabilities. I just want to see it grow and expand a little bit.
Yeah,
cool.
I think we can all do better with that. That's for sure. Hands down.
Is that something? I just oh, by the way, Heidi, is that something that is something that companies have to bring forth now? Is there federal laws regarding that?
So I've been doing a little research on that, and if you receive federal funding, the regulations are different for you.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah,
is a certain size, like you have to be like so many, the numbers of employees that you have, then the regulations are different for you. But a long time ago, you as a business used to get like a tax break for hiring an individual with disability. That is no more. So when you talk about the benefits to hook businesses in, those things have changed. So I've got to work on those hooks and conveying that message.
For sure. You'll do it.
No doubt.
I know you will.
No doubt.
Without a doubt. All right. So since she mentioned, that she's a Disney fan like us, I had some ideas. First of all, tell us what's your classroom looking like this year? I think I saw you sent me a picture of your board at the beginning of the year, but you do a lot of mini polka dots, I think, right? Like your students know that you're a Disney fan.
Yes. And let me tell you guys why, because people are always like, gosh, this teacher's crazy. I start out the year with my own traditions class. So those of you that have been employed by Disney, you go through something called traditions. I've never done it, but I want to get employed selling popcorn for a summer and go through the Disney traditions. But I found a manual from 1967, and it's vintage. It's amazing. There's some great graphics in there. And I pulled that apart and used it as my own springboard for teaching the foundations, the traditions of Cheney Community Transition Program. And we go through there, what every employee should, what does you dress? What does your hygiene look like? How do you be a good team member? How do you add pixie dust to those customers that you run into? How do you make somebody's day? And so I start every fall going through my traditions course with my students. And that's how I springboard Disney into my classroom. And then we also talk about building connections through Disney. And so that's a good connection builder in the fall. And then I talk a lot about Walt. My students are just like, you're still talking about Walt. Like, he is an innovator. He is inspiring. He was an incredible man that did a lot for all different factions of our society. So that's my classroom right now does. I don't focus so much on characters. I try to keep it age appropriate. And the theme of my class is Walt had a quote that says, you know, now I'm blanking on it, but it talks about dreams and you have the courage to pursue them. And they start out, they make a vision board in the fall about what their dreams are. And we can't just include employment, we include everything. You know, where do you want to live? Do you have a goal to get married? You know, those kind of things. Everybody deserves to have all the actions of life and love. Really and cool. So they start with a vision board. Those are at the back of my room. They also talk about their dream jobs. And then throughout the year, I sprinkle little pieces of Disney, like quotes. There's a monthly quote about it, about, you know, tying back to usually a Disney movie. I Disney bound quite a bit in my classroom with my ears and different holidays and stuff.
That's neat.
That's awesome.
You know, as you're saying that, Aaron and Petey, I think you could appreciate this more than I can, but you're doing more for students than I think that happens for students that are not in those programs. Like, I don't know how many students in the senior year or junior year are putting together vision boards. And they should be, you know, it's you know, it's good stuff. You're doing some amazing things.
And it's hard work. It's a grind. So you might as well do it in a way that's fun for you and sparks something in you and something, you know, let it your enjoyment be a part of it too, because then it rubs off on the kids.
Absolutely. And I will have gen ed families be like, my kid needs to be in your class. They're not great at cooking and they don't do their laundry and they still don't have a job. And they've been out of school for 6 months now. Sorry.
Well, I think you're doing something too. And I just realized this, and it's something that Walt was really good at. You're helping people see themselves in a story, in the story of life, I feel like, right? So between the storyboards, between the discovery that you're doing and letting them, you know, try different skills. I'm sure even the cooking, the food is part of that, right? Like, what are things that I enjoy making? What are things I enjoy eating? What are things that I enjoy smelling when it's cooking in the kitchen? Like, those are all those senses, all those things remind us that we're living, and we all should feel that way no matter what. Right.
Yeah,
true.
Well said.
So Heidi, you know, you've been doing this quite a while. You and I are like, well, we all are. We've all been teaching a long time. What are your tricks and tips for your own? How do you motivate yourself? Like, what do you do? Like, obviously you're Disney. I get it. You're Disney. You go to Disney, you probably get inspired at Disney. What else do you do though?
Okay. So every year, most districts give us dollars. Some districts are like, here's some money, buy your own classroom supplies. No. I use my dollars for professional development. And that's how I found Aaron. That's how I stay motivated, rejuvenated, current on things. That breathes life into me. Is
I dig it. That's
continuing,
cool.
you know, when you stop learning, you die. So always learning. I've read a couple books this year. I just finished one by Lee Cockrell that you guys gave me at the conference. Just always learning. And part of that is also the feedback. You have to continually be reflective and making sure. With me, I'm great. It's great that I have 3 paraeducators in my classroom and they know they can give me feedback and I do the same for them. I can't be stale. We just can't. So yeah, conferences. Everybody should be required to continue their professional development and in their field and expand.
Absolutely.
That is what is rejuvenating. And it happens to be in Orlando, and that's so rough.
Right. That's so tough. Hey, so I'm glad you brought up books. So I brought a book because I knew that I could do an activity. So, you know, I'm also, besides a Disney fan, a huge soccer fan. I played high school and college. So Julie Foudy, awesome USA soccer player, brought this book out. It's been a couple years now. It's called Choose to Matter. And I actually thought about, Heidi, you and your students. It's being courageously and fabulously you. And it's really cool. So it's got like different chapters and really cool exercises you can do individually or as a team. And I was shocked because I was looking through this the other day and she had in here an activity so people could get to know you and the type of maybe leader you are, or instead of taking a personality test, doing this. And I feel like we could all answer this. Her question is, if you were a Disney attraction, what Disney attraction would you be and why? And I thought we could do that. And I'll even open it up to any of the parks, anywhere, as long as you've been there. Like you had to have ridden the attraction, Pete.
Somebody else first. so I need to think.
Is that tough?
Okay.
I'm bad with those things. Let me see.
So I'll go first because since I kind of knew this was coming, I thought I better think about it in case this happens. Because that is, I mean, there's a lot of attractions you could pick from. So Magic Kingdom, hands down, Tangled bathrooms. I'm just kidding.
Wait, what? Wait, say that again?
I can't believe you went there.
The Tangled bathrooms.
It's like,
They're very nice.
Yeah.
Though. They are very.
I only heard parts of that. I only heard hanging upside down.
No, okay, I'll be for real. So I came up with two, but I think this is the choice number one is the best one for me, and it's Rise of the Resistance, and it's not because of Star Wars, Fred. It's not because of Star Wars. When I rode that ride, especially the first time, if you've ridden it, it is fast. It goes from one thing to the next, and I feel like that's very much me. But I can do it very organized. It's very easy for me to go from one project to the next. So I thought that was kind of fitting. It also can produce some anxiety. I tend to have some anxiety, so that was great. It's an innovative ride, like it's like no others. I love to be innovative. And then, of course, I'll tie in the Star Wars where the story, it's about focusing on the light, not on the darkness, which is something I like to do. So I am Rise of the Resistance.
Okay.
You're killing
All
me.
right. I like this. I
Okay.
like this one.
That attraction just blew my mind. Like I kept thinking, how do they fit all this stuff in here?
Seriously.
How
I
am I
know.
so little?
Yes.
Oh, amazing.
And you go from story to story. Like the story is just unbelievable how they move you along. It's just so cool.
Yeah, the immersiveness of the cast members that are in character.
Yes.
It really is. It is really an amazing experience. It's really fun.
Okay.
So
Did
many
you guys come up with one?
I have one. Whenever you're ready, Pete.
Okay.
Go ahead,
Go ahead,
sir.
Fred.
So there was two that flashed through my mind at first, but I'm going to go with the third one that I settled on. It was Tower of Terror. So Tower of Terror being, you have this calmness when you get in there in a way. You're a little apprehensive, but you do it anyway, and you get into it and you lift up and you have these high moments where you're feeling okay. And all of a sudden, boom, it drops you a little bit and you're like, oh, why am I doing this? And then you're going back up again and you're feeling okay again. And then you're going back down. So you're kind of going up and down, but you're still moving through it. Right. But when all is said and done, you empty out in the lobby and you're just laughing and you realize, you look back at it and you go, that was no big deal, but you want to do it again, and that's kind of like the way I think I've been approaching a lot of things lately, is just like the Tower of Terror, except Rod Sterling isn't giving anything to me before anything happens. So it's all good. Or whoever the guy is playing Rod Sterling. So it's all good.
That's a good answer. I like that. Nice.
Yes. Yeah. And it's a good mid-year one where we're like up and down mid-school.
Oh, yeah.
For sure.
I like to take some administrators with me on that ride. So it's
Okay, we're a little informal. I'm going to turn on a light behind me because I'm fading with the lack of
Go ahead.
Washington.
Go ahead.
That's right. You're out west. Pete, you still brewing it?
Oh gosh.
Oh,
I mean, what was the exact challenge again?
What kind of Disney attraction would you be and why?
Okay. I mean, my two favorites are Pirates and Haunted Mansion. The storytelling, the music. I mean, that's really special to me. It connects. It's my childhood. That's it. But I'm gonna push further. I'm gonna go with, and I'll explain why. Festival of the Lion King and Animal Kingdom. I love seeing all these people. They don't know each other. They come in, they're sitting, they're sweaty, and they sit on, shoulder to shoulder. And, 15, 20 minutes into it, people are tearing up and they're singing along and they're having a great time. And, they're all coming from all different walks of life, all over the country, all over the world. And, oh, look, there's their kids walking around the circular stage together performing. And it's just such a unifying. And I'll freely admit, I took that entire concept. I do in the round productions now. Last year was our first one. We're doing it again this year because I just thought it was such a wonderful storytelling device. And just to see across the people that's performing, but then look across at the other side of the audience and you see other people reacting. It's such a visceral experience. I just love that way of storytelling. People throw away their whole immersive. People say that a lot. It truly is immersive.
It is.
Because you're just enveloped with feeling. It's a great way of storytelling, and I've applied it to the classroom. I've applied it to our productions. So I'll go with Festival of the Lion King.
Timeless.
Good answer. Good answer. His kiddos did Moana last year, right?
Yep.
Wasn't that what I came to see?
Doing it again.
Did you see that they announced today Moana 2?
I did see something. I didn't know if that was true or not, but I did see it pop up.
I guess that makes sense why the Journey of Water maybe was.
They're doing a live action. So is this an animated sequel or?
I mean, in a way, you expect it, right? Because that's the way it's always
animated.
been.
Yeah.
Right. So, because there was rumors a long time it was going to be a TV show. It was going to be a Disney Plus thing. So maybe it's being reformatted into a sequel. I don't know, but it's interesting. But gosh, that story, that music, that one really speaks to my kids. And
that's a good one.
That's another learning opportunity. I haven't done 2 shows in a row before, and we did it this year because we already have a lot of the costumes and the bones in place, and now we can. I was able to afford a choreographer. I was able to afford, and we can improve on it. And I can see that there's better learning going on this year because we're revisiting it. So it's kind of cool.
That is cool.
Yeah.
Are you streaming it live at all?
We don't, but I'll send you something.
Okay.
It's unbelievable, Heidi.
We'll send you something.
I know I gave my answer, but I just have a question. Is the churro cart considered an attraction?
Sure. Egg roll cart forever.
Because I was going to say that would be my second.
All right, Heidi, we gave you some time. Did you think of one? No pressure.
I did. Okay. Mine is Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway, because it is like a special education classroom. You're going along, having a picnic, really happy, and all of a sudden the wheels come off. And then your day is like,
that's brilliant.
Goofy takes the wheel.
Yeah. But then you come out of it with this great song stuck in your head about nothing can stop us now. And that's a great motto.
Yes.
Nothing can stop you now.
That's
and that's a good message for my students. And
That's a good
I
one.
love the immersiveness of that. I love that Mickey finally got his own attraction. The technology behind that with the trackless ride vehicle. That one speaks to me. That, and it's to be in the cartoon is so cool.
Excellent.
Really good answer. I love it. All right. Well, thanks for playing. I know I kind of threw that out of nowhere, but I figured if anyone could come up with attractions, it would be you guys. So thanks for playing.
That was fun.
Well, Heidi, if people want to reach out to you, what's the best way for them to do that? Social media?
I have a Gmail account that I would be happy to share. It's my first name and my last name all mushed together. Heidi von Marbod @gmail.com. Awesome. And I'm happy to advise districts that want to start a transition program, that want a robust transition program. If you want me to evaluate your transition program and give your ideas, I'm happy to consult there. I'm also happy to support high school special education teachers. We're not given a course on transition in college. That was not part of our education. There might have been a little lecture or a snippet. So I am happy to advise teachers on what is transition and how do we implement it and how do we partner with Voc Rehab to get Voc Rehab into our high schools and get more students connected with that. All students are afforded help with that. Resource room students, functional academic students. So please, folks, this is my life's work and I am passionate and I would love to support those things because in the end, it's going to improve outcomes for individuals with disabilities.
Yeah, we've got to collaborate. We've got to network. We got to do it. So reach out to Heidi. She's great. And Pete, where can people continue to find us?
Right. So hopefully you're watching us on Facebook or YouTube right now. Podcast will be on your favorite podcast playing platform. We have an Instagram account. We have our website, teacherpeprally.com. leave us a review, share, be in touch with us, subscribe, like, all that good stuff.
That's right. All right, Heidi, thank you so much for everything you do, first of all. Second, for agreeing to come back on and talk to us. Again, another great informational conversation. And lastly, I look forward to seeing you in June down in Orlando.
Yes. Thank you, friends. Thank you so
Good
much
to
for
see you.
It was really nice to see everybody.
Thanks
Take
for
care.
being with us, Heidi. It's great to know you. It's you're doing such great work. Thank you.
Thanks, friends. Thank you very much.